Broadcast is live.
Yay! Here we are. What are we? Ready Bro USA. We're a podcast affiliated with the Rowing.Chat network. Rowing.Chat is where you can find all the information on our podcast. And welcome to our 9th episode. We have a really exciting session in store for you. We have a very special guest who I'll introduce in a second. But I'm Charlotte Pierce. I'm the host and producer of this podcast, and it's I'm up in the Boston area. I'm affiliated with Community Rowing. That's where my membership is. But we're kind of peeling ourselves out of winter here. We were out rowing this morning, and I think there was some sleet. I'm not quite sure, but I'd like to mention my panelists or my contributors, Mark Wilson of All American Rowing Camp, and Ellen Minzner. She's the U.S. para rowing coach and coach at Community Rowing. Our executive producer is Rebecca Caroe of Rowing.Chat, and our sponsors who make it possible for our podcast to happen include Row Tours. They've been sponsoring for a couple months, and I'm just like, this is my favorite thing to do when I travel, is to go rowing. So I think, this organization is fabulous. There are a number of others who do exotic international tours, but Row Tours is one of the best, and we appreciate their sponsorship. And our other sponsor is Just Strong. It's athletic clothing for women, and I just love their attitude. It's great products, really well made, some really cool products like different clothing, t-shirts, crop tops, supplements, water bottles, and they've just come on as a sponsor. We really appreciate their support. So that is juststrong.com, and Row Tours is rowtours.com. So now we're ready to introduce our special guest. I'm really happy to have him on today. This is Jim Deets. Many of you are familiar with his experience as an Olympic rower, and he's also coached at Coast Guard Academy, right? And
Coast Guard, yeah.
And
UMass.
UMass. You're currently at UMass. So tell me more about yourself and what you're doing these days. Jim,
I'm doing what I've always been doing. Ever since I was 14, I got in a boat, and I love being in a boat, and I continue to be in a boat pretty much every day. And one of the things that I thought we could discuss a little bit this morning was just how the sport has changed in the past 50 years. When I started out, it was pretty much everybody was in big wooden pocock 8s with big heavy oars, and there were only a few boat builders in the entire country. Pocock, Garofalo, some of the local clubs had their own boat builders. But today, our sport has grown exponentially. I've just termed out as vice president of U.S. Rowing after 9 years, and seeing what's going on with U.S. Rowing, seeing what's going on with women's rowing in the United States, with Title IX and gender equity, and how all of that kicked in. Because of all those great things, our sport has grown exponentially. The number of collegiate programs has more than quadrupled in the past 25 years.
And you're also affiliated with, you're coaching at All American Rowing Camp, I know, because I was there this winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, rowing's for everybody now. We have rowing for masters is growing more and more, and one of the reasons is the health benefits for it. You get the tremendous cardiovascular work out in the boat. It's a full body experience. So you're working every part of your body without the trauma to your body. We
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of ex-runners and stuff coming into the sport now because they're disciplined for that high aerobic type of work, but the body just keeps breaking down, and in rowing, we don't have those breaks.
And I was just at, we affectionately call it, well, I maybe I better not say it on camera, but it's an early class. It started at 5:15 this morning, but our coach was saying, we have people in our logbook coaching, which is kind of our regular 3 to 4 day a week coaching, from age 22 to 81.
Yeah.
So
yeah, many of the members of my club were rowing well into their 90s. Just keep doing it.
Right. And so what are some of the, I know you've just been to, did you go to San Diego, or were you just following?
No, I was just following San Diego online. Some of my alums and some of my master's friends, were calling and telling me how they did. And the big drawback there that I really didn't focus on was that for masters at San Diego Crew Classic, there's only rowing sweeps. And in the United States, most clubs, after your high school and your collegiate experience, most clubs are focusing on sculling. And seeing that half of the Olympic events are sculling events, we need to be spending more time for that. But when I did go online and check, I did see that the San Diego Crew Classic does have both high school events for men and women, boys and girls, at their event. And as the sport evolves, our regattas are going to have to evolve, and they're going to have to bring more sculling into it, because that's what masters particularly like. I mean, the quad is probably the master's favorite boat.
Yeah, that is such a fun boat. I love that boat. We did 3 weeks of team boats before the single season started, and we got a chance to row in a stable boat, practice like you guys do at rowing camp. We go out in doubles or quads, and 2 of us will stabilize and 2 of us will row. But yeah,
right. That's a big part of it. That most people, when they get into the singles, they're afraid of it. All right. And because it is a tipsy boat, even if you're starting off in a gig or a comp or a Martin trainer or whatever, they're still tipsy to some extent, so the type of rowing that the person is experiencing there, I view as defensive rowing. You're moving from side to side just to try to keep yourself balanced, and it's hard to learn the proper rudiments of the sport, the proper movements of the sport in that type of an environment. When you move into the quad, you've got a stable platform. You could have 3 people, 2 people, 1 person balancing while the others are going through it. And you're learning more effectively in that type of an environment. Yeah. And then from there, you can move into the smaller boats.
And do you think there isn't that much at regattas or some of these regattas, because it's just, more boats, more people, more schlepping, more storage?
Yeah, well, the San Diego Crew Classic started off as a high school collegiate event. Most high schools and colleges only row in big boats, or in the past had only rowed in big boats. I think we've seen an emergence in high school sculling in the United States. The high schools, in my mind, are leading the way in this country as far as ways to get our sport out there and noticed, and they're moving into the singles, the doubles, and the quads, because it's events that you don't need to have an army in order to be successful at. You've got individual athletes within your club that can be extremely successful, and those athletes are going on to do great things. So right now, last year, I went out to the U.S. Rowing Junior Championships out in Sacramento, California. I couldn't believe the level of sculling and racing overall in all of those events. I mean, it just shows you how our country is moving it, in great ways with rowing.
Now, have you always done sculling yourself, or I mean,
I did. I
Mhm.
started off in high school. Well, I mean, the first boats that I hopped into were the barge and then the high school 8. But, quickly I moved into the single. And, from the time I was the summer of my freshman year in high school, I was in a single, and I've been in a single all my life.
That's pretty cool. I know in
Hmm.
Europe they more oriented toward starting out with sculling, right?
Well, they do that for health reasons, Charlotte. You
Mm,
know, in many of the European countries, you can't row sweep until you're at least 18 years of age, and the reason for that is because your bodies haven't developed yet. You're not strong enough, and you're in a sweep boat. You're either port or starboard. You're pulling your body out of line. You're not developing in a holistic way.
yeah.
In a sculling boat, you're learning all of the skills. You're learning all of the balance. I mean, that's why the Europeans kind of have a bit of a foot up on us when it comes to racing at the Olympic level.
Well, when I go in a sweeps boat, I don't care what side I take.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine
Right.
with. When I was in
Mm-hmm.
the quad the other day, I noticed that the woman ahead of me in what is it, the 3 seat before stroke?
Yeah.
That's a 3 seat.
Yeah.
Um, she was like, she'd go to the catch and then like a little bit farther with the left side.
Uh-huh.
Are
Yeah.
you? Are you? That would be a
You
port.
know, Charlotte, it's funny that you mentioned that because, going to some of the regattas, the head of the Charles and stuff where you see, masters and veterans crews showing up, that have been in a boat
Mhm.
for 50 some odd years, and you look at these guys walking around, you can pick out the ports and you could pick out the starboards like you could pick out a fiddler crab. They're so overdeveloped on one side. It's
I know.
ridiculous.
And it's just like you just like to be. I took my coach taught yoga this winter, so I took a 3 days a week yoga and then 2 days a week, some intense sort of erg training. But the yoga was so great for balance, body awareness.
Mm-hmm.
We worked on both sides, and I think that's going to make a huge difference for me this year. I just
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Well,
But
the single's just like that. When you do get out in the single, especially when I'm coaching young kids, you want them to play. You want them to experiment. You want them to be able to stand up in the boat. You want them to be able to do a handstand in the boat, if they can.
yeah,
That's how your body gets that awareness, and
yeah.
you show me, 8 people that really know how to scull well, and I'll show you an 8 that can really move fast. I mean, look at the great 8s that have raced at the head of the Charles in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I love watching them. When just
Mm-hmm.
like, but how many times have you done the head of the Charles?
If this is coming up on the 54th year, then I've been in 53 of them.
I think is it the 54th?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, you've been on all,
Yeah, I've been in all except for one.
and that was when you had some knee surgery or something.
No, I went into the hospital for back surgery.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, we have like the old fogies in at Community Rowing. We're going to try some boat tricks this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going to try our standing launch and stuff. I don't know when the water gets warmer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But one thing I wanted to mention, I've got a few people that are interested in coastal rowing, and I know you're a big fan of it, and you've done some regattas, and like we just wondering where we could find some action. I mean, like either drop in or regattas and things like that.
Yeah. Again, Charlotte, this is how our sport is evolving and changing. And as somebody that wants to be in a boat every day, and you get up and the wind is blowing like crazy, and there's white caps, and you can't get out, and you're going, oh damn, or as you're driving down the road and you see a body of water and go, boy, I'd really love to row there. Well, these coastal boats are really filling that niche, similar to your sponsor, Rowing Tours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think that this is the new world for people to be able to get out and go places and do things. I've got 2 coastal boats. I cruise around Cape Cod, as much as I can. In the afternoons, I want to get out
in the ocean.
in the ocean. Yeah. Just take it out, throw it, go to a boat launch, toss it in, and start rowing around, Cape Cod. It's beautiful. I mean, you're out there, you're running into seals. This year I'm going to go out and see if I can see some whales way up at Provincetown. But to get back to what you were mentioning, coastal rowing is probably going to become an Olympic event, and there are regattas that are set up. If you go to Regatta Central,
yeah, I got it up here.
In June, there's a coastal race in Provincetown. Al Flanders is running that. It's an 8K race. This is the 4th year that's been going on. Coastal boats tend to be singles, doubles, and quads with. And the neat thing about that is you can row them as male boats or female boats or mixed boats. And a lot of the different LOCs, local organizing committees, will put those events in because that's what a lot of people like to do. June 22nd, the Narragansett Boat Club in Rhode Island is going to be running their 2nd year at the Narragansett Bay Regatta.
And they're not up here yet, I think.
No, I don't think they're up there yet.
Yeah, there's just two 2019 ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but they hosted that regatta last year. A lot of these regattas are multi-sport type regattas. You'll have people in rowing boats. You'll have people in fixed seat whaling boats. You'll have people on paddle boards. You'll have people in kayaks. July 13th is the Blackburn Challenge, which is the Boston Marathon of coastal races. And again, it's for all of those different boat classes. And that's a 25-mile row around Cape Ann and Gloucester. And what I'm enjoying most about the coastal stuff is, you finish the Blackburn, you've rowed 25 miles, you pull your boat up onto the beach, there's a tent. In the tent, there's a band, there's beer, there's barbecue, and there's people having a great time.
What could be better? And, I know, that's so much fun.
Exactly. It's like winning the Boston Marathon. Only one person's going to win. Everybody's there for the experience, and everybody's happy with themselves that I just made it 25 miles around, Cape Ann and Gloucester, and I'm having a great time, and the beer tastes great, and the burgers taste great, and you go off and you party. I mean, that's what life should be.
Especially if you've got some like wicked weather, like you're just like charging through the waves, and then you get to.
If you go on YouTube and Google the Blackburn Challenge, you'll see some days when half the boats couldn't finish.
So that's the one up at Cape Ann. Is that the one you did?
That's Cape Ann.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh. So when is that? July?
That's July 13th.
Okay. And it looks like there's something in Sarasota.
Yeah, well, if you continue down the line, August 24th and 25th, there's another FISA coastal type race up in Montreal, Canada. September 14th and 15th. This one I think might be on Regatta Central already. The Lighthouse race in Norwalk, Connecticut. That's another great one. And they have a short distance and they have long distances there. November 20th. The 24th is a big coastal race in Sarasota, Florida. That's just for the East Coast. I know April 14th, this next week, there's a
coastal
race in San Francisco. I think that's out of the Dolphin Boat Club. And
Jim, can you like, none of us have coastal boats, so can we just show up and like rotate it?
That's where it's going. I am on the coastal committee of U.S. Rowing, and we're trying to help organize these things. But the limitation is the number of coastal boats in the country, and more are coming in. And the way these LOCs are trying to set up the events, they're going out and trying to bring in, 4 quad widths and 8 doubles, and another 8 or 10 singles, and over time it'll start to grow just like our boat.
And who's making them? I mean, I know Swift Boats. We had the guy from Swift Boat at our rowing camp.
Yep, I have both a Swift, which I love. I've rowed that all around the islands in Falmouth, going out towards Martha's Vineyard. I have a Leo from Sweden. That's another good boat. But I know Filippi is also producing them. I'm trying to think. Light boats, I think, from Canada are out there. Euro Diffusion. I think that's another brand, but they all have to follow the FISA formula for a boat, and basically the formula deals with weight.
Okay.
Because they're coastal boats, they want to make those boats a little heavier, so the construction is a little stronger. Because in some places that you're going to be rowing them, you don't want them to break apart.
And when did you say the Olympic?
The IOC is in negotiations with that now, but from what I hear, by 2024, we'll probably see coastal boats in the Olympics. And you think about it, it's a lot easier situation, and the feeling of the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, is that we want to continue to grow the sport, and you want to grow the sport to countries where you don't have 2,000-meter racing courses, but you might be in the Virgin Islands or any of these other beautiful places, and there's a lot of coast. I personally feel that even here in the United States, even here in New England, a lot of the high school and master's programs on the North and South Shore, which are rowing on the ocean, would probably get more water time if they were in coastal boats.
And you feel like the training it translates to other types of rowing? It
certainly does. I mean, it is rowing. The same technique that you're going to be using in a racing shell that weighs 34 pounds, you're going to be doing in a coastal boat that weighs 75 pounds.
And you'll get more sense of the drag and the.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit heavier in the singles, but there again, the trade-off is you can take that boat anywhere. You can row it on any kind of water. You can surf the waves in off the beach. I was out last year rowing off a Hyannis, early in the morning, and I get this eerie feeling that I'm being watched, right? And I'm thinking, Jesus, I just got this feeling that I'm being watched. And I stop, I grab my water bottle, and I'm a good 3 miles offshore. And I look over my shoulder, and there are 2 harbor seals looking at me, and it's like, what your senses when you're out there way out in the ocean, by yourself, it's like, it's amazing how it wakes you up.
I had a close encounter with a goose this morning.
Yeah.
I don't know what they thought was happening, but I didn't injure the goose, but it did make contact. But anyway, we have about 5 minutes, Jim, and I just wanted to, I promised people a Jim Deets rowing yarn.
Mm-hmm.
So, you kind of, the harbor seal was like a little warm up. I wonder if you could give us a 2-minute, like a fun story that from your vast experience.
Okay, seeing that you brought up that you almost clobbered a goose this morning. All right. All right. One has to ask themselves, all right, if you look at a sculling oar or a sweep oar, why are they the diameter that we see today? They could be made much thinner. And I can remember being over racing in the English Henley. There was an American 4 over there. I won't mention the guy in the boat because he's probably still traumatized, but they're coming down the Henley course, and there's a Canadian goose in the Henley course, and all of a sudden this guy makes contact with the very thin concept 2 blade at the time and decapitates it. All right. Well, that goose continued to swim around for the rest of the day, not realizing it lost its head. Because of that, they went out and they made the rule that the blade had to be a little bit thicker. So I think
because of that.
Well, that's one of the reasons, that probably.
Just so that you kind of don't create headless fowl.
In some places like Philadelphia, they probably want to bring those blades back, though.
I mean, do we need any more geese, really?
No, we don't.
I was sweeping the dock this morning. I don't think we.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, So I just appreciate having you on. So very much. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to, entice you to come back and help us, keep up on some of the things that are happening in rowing. And I just love your ideas. Like, I'm so excited about coastal rowing now. I'm going to head down to Norwalk and talk to Ben Booth maybe. And
Yep. You ought to get Ben on the program.
I will. Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah.
I think we,
in fact, he's going to be building his own coastal singles. They're called Rebels. So he's actually designing a boat. And again, over time, the visa limitations or restrictions on the weights of the boats might change and whatever. But, you want to make it, first of all, from a cost perspective, it's a lot cheaper buying a coastal boat than it is a racing shell.
Yeah, that's interesting because they're bigger and more material, but they're not as, they're like, what, could you get one for 4,000 or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Well, and then as we wind down, I just want to thank again our sponsors. This really makes it possible. There are several expenses involved with producing the podcast. So Just Strong, the athletic clothing for women. And they have a coupon code you can use, REBCAROE 10, Caroe 10. If you miss that, I will put it in the show notes, but you can get a 10% discount on their material. And let's see, I can show so it's juststrong.com and rowtours.com. Jim is affiliated with All American Rowing Camp and UMass. My company, my other life is as a publisher, Pierce Press. I'm actually looking for a couple of alternative education titles, which could include rowing or coaching. And that's it for today. We are now going to be on Tuesdays at 11 through April. We're doing a weekly broadcast because of all the exciting stuff happening in April and the startup of rowing in the frozen north. But we will be back on the 16th at 11, and then we'll have one on the 23rd at 7 p.m. We're having Reba Knickerbocker of Bend the Blade. She's an excellent women's coach, and she just focuses on masters women. We went to a symposium at Bend the Blade a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine, and it was very, very valuable. Just a lot of stuff, that's specific to masters women. So thank you again for coming, Jim, and thanks everyone for watching, and please continue to tune in Tuesdays at 11 most of the time. We'll let you know when there's a different time, but we appreciate comments at Rowing.Chat, and you'll find all the Rowing.Chat broadcasts at that site. Thanks again, Jim. I really appreciate you being here.
Anytime, Charlotte.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.